current affairs, facts and opinion, their future in our hands. Markets, globalist technocrats versus the people. A line in the sand. The McIntyre Report.
And welcome, folks. Jamie McIntyre here, reporting live for Australian National Review, independent media, originally formed in Australia as a national newspaper, the first in decades to be launched in Australia in 2013, attacked and censored ever since. Government agencies set upon us and upon me, and both the left and right-wing media went after me to character assassinate me. A little bit of jealousy, a new newspaper on the block that might tell the truth they don't like. So if you want to tune in to independent media that has an agenda to tell you the truth every time, as opposed to fake news media, channels 7, 9, 10, ABC, and so on in Australia, Sky News, etc., that will feed you with utter fake news on a day-to-day basis. But they don't even apologize for it. They actually don't care for the truth. People say, how'd they get it so wrong? How do they get stories so wrong? Is it inadvertent? Clearly not. Their job, they're not media. They're propaganda outlets, either left faction Zionists on the left, the globalists, Soros, you'll learn nothing but be woke and transgender happy crowd. Or you got the right faction, Netanyahu, the descendant of Moses, he now claims his bloodline is. So by being a fake Jewish imposter from Poland, his background in Khazarian mafia, his masters are, at least the Khazarian mafia, Rothschilds, are from eastern Ukraine. Not any Semitic bloodlines in them at all, but they like to delude themselves. So you can support right faction, Sky News in Australia. Dropping bombs on kids makes you comfortable at night and doesn't make your stomach churn. It's supporting mass murder, genocide, but then deluding ourselves it's not a genocide. Then by all means, vote left or right, watch left-wing media or right-wing media. That's both lying to you. They both are competing for one world government run out of Jerusalem, whether it's left faction woke nonsense or right faction bomb kids to death and blow up. The only peace they want in the Middle East is pieces of dead children everywhere. And you think they're going to stop with the Middle East? Who do you think was behind the Bondi massacre? If you don't know that, the question is, why don't you know that? Who was behind September 11th? You would have friends that still don't know who did September 11th. What about the Bali bombings, Port Arthur massacre, Christchurch massacre, Dunblane massacre, Oklahoma bombings? Who was behind all these? London bombings. There is one central body, an individual group of people who are behind all this, but most people have no idea about that. And fake news media is going to tell you you're a conspiracy theorist if you dare investigate the truth. But you have an obligation to know the truth, speak the truth, and share the truth, just as we do here. We might occasionally get it wrong in independent media, Australian National Review, but we'll happily admit if we're wrong. But unfortunately, we've been right when we wish we're wrong. We've been able to tell you what's going on and what's going to happen in the future. We've warned people for some time now, Australia is in all sorts of trouble. To relocate yourself, if you can, or your assets out of the declining West, in particular Australia as well, which I think Australia is going to fall the fastest. It's good now to see many people waking up, something that we've been predicting and telling people for a long time. But finally, I sense that Australians are starting to realize they're fucked.
Australia's fucked. There it is. You're living in a country that's run by fucking idiots who waste all your money, who tax you through the ass, and who restrict you like crazy, and your freedoms are being stripped away from you. So do I see it getting better? No. Could I be wrong? Absolutely. I hope I am wrong. But the writing is on the wall. There are so many signs. Start exploring options on how you can provide for your family in a different way. There are so many, and you must open your mind up to the possibility that maybe the idea of home is not actually home. They say home is where the heart is. I had to strip away the identity of Australia as my home. I am an immigrant. I moved to New Zealand when I was 4 years old from a war-torn country. So I see the value of immigration. And it's not just the immigration. You could have 100,000 people coming into the country, but if the government actually had proper policies and did their job properly, it might not be an issue. But in the current state of affairs, Australia is fucked, and it's fucking the people. It is bending them over. It is railing them from behind. I know I'm being graphic here, but it is a horrible place to be, and I feel sorry for anyone in that situation. But I also believe that anyone in Australia right now struggling, there are paths out of it for you.
Yeah, it's good to see that a lot more attention is coming on this. As I said, we're building entire new cities to be able to handle the amount of expats wishing to flee Australia, like I said, Bali and Lombok. And now the idea of 6 new cities, modern cities for Indonesia, is what's now being put on the agenda as across TV networks here in Indonesia. A part of what our vision is to help and create Indonesia. But we've been talking about this for some time. The trickle, there was a lot of people fled to places like Tulum, Mexico, from Canada and America during COVID, and afterwards at Bali. Bali probably was the biggest recipient. But that's just a trickle to what's coming. I've said recently, and I've said for some time, Bali is about to be absolutely flooded with Westerners begging to come here. Australians can cash out, middle-class Australians, and get the hell out of Australia and live like kings in Bali or Lombok or other parts of Indonesia or Southeast Asia or even Latin America, wherever they want to be. But if they leave it too late, they won't get the money out. The Iron Curtain will come down. He said, that will never happen. Well, they're never going to just remove your private ownership rights up front, because you would get out and revolt, and we're not going to have communism in Australia. But what they do is globalism, left woke nonsense. Globalism is slow creeping communism. They'll just increase taxes till people can't afford to hold their properties. And they'll be forced to sell in a market where there's no buyers. And then guess who will come along and scoop up with their fake money, BlackRock and their funders, and buy it all up. You'll be restricted to eventually you can't even say things that I say as an independent media journalist and political commentator, because I would be at risk of being jailed in Australia for being critical of a certain nation that drops bombs on innocent children and civilians and tries to lie to us it's not a genocide. So you're going to know it's predictable. You don't need to be someone like myself that's accurately predicted financial predictions and who wins wars for the last 25 years to figure it out. If you want to know the truth and you're too busy to be a geopolitical expert, simply whatever they're telling you on the news is false. It's fake. It's utter nonsense. I mean, how many attack articles does the Murdoch press run up, not just on me, but on Bali in general? They've been trying for a long time to scare people going to Bali. I don't know why they bother, because Australians love Bali. But there's some Australians never been to Bali, as an example, because they're scared. They watch what's on Today Tonight or News Corp trash papers and think Bali must be a dangerous place, despite it being one of the safest places on the planet. I'm not saying everyone has to pack up and move to Bali, but I'm saying most Australians in a very near future would not be able to afford living in Australia. It's not going to get better. Do you think voting left or right or Pauline Hanson's going to solve the problem? I'm sorry, it's not. You're fucked. Unless you immediately look for solutions, and some of those solutions you have to accept, you may have to leave Australia. Now, it's okay for you, Jamie, but what if I have lots of children? I'm not saying you have to. I'm just saying you're fucked if you stay there. If you live in country areas, you might be fine for a while. But you're going to see, here's what's going to happen. Increasing violence. Machetes will be flooded in the country. Violent gangs are flooded in the country deliberately by these people that are trying to create the large plan. The people who are really behind immigration, the real people. They do it in every country. Look at the UK. Australia's maybe 2 years behind the UK or less. You will not be safe. You lock up your daughters, they will not be safe. To be gang raped in Australia. You're going to see a rise of that sort of behavior. This is being done deliberately. It's not accidental. They're doing it. You think it's just happening in Australia? It's happening all around Western Europe, has been for some time. It's just now coming to Australia. Flooding with weapons, flooding with dangerous immigrants. Now, I've got nothing against immigration. I'm not saying that typical immigrants are the problem. I'm saying they are deliberately sending dangerous immigrants in, and then more sleeper cells, terrorists, etc., to frame and blame and create civil tensions and civil division. And if you fall for that, you'll be played. Oh, we hate the left, so let's vote right. Like that ever solves anything. Yes, the left woke nutters are nutters. But do you think Netanyahu's not a nutter? Here's what Netanyahu, the Israeli prime minister, said recently, today. Benjamin Netanyahu says his bloodline comes directly from Moses. I mean, this is a man that's in charge of Israel now, pretty much in charge of America and the US military. And in charge of Australia, if you don't know that, the West, Australia is completely controlled by Israel. So some of you are figuring that out now. Oh, but we must stand with Israel. Why? Who told you to do that? Oh, but I'm a Christian, I should stand with Israel. Why would Christians stand with a fake nation, fake state of Israel, created in 1948 by a bunch of banker, wanker, pedo, satanic Luciferians, i.e. the Rothschilds? You might have heard of them. It's no conspiracy. They actually exist. It's not a conspiracy that they didn't found Israel. Balfour Declaration, you might want to read that. Benjamin Netanyahu says his bloodline comes directly from Moses. Another lie. I'm pretty sure if God wanted to choose some people to represent him here on planet Earth, he wouldn't choose a bunch of pedo, banker, wankers that print fake money that killed Jesus Christ. But no, people read the Bible and think Israel, the fake Israel, is what they're talking about in the Bible. That was biblical. 1948 is not biblical. It's 77 years ago. He also says, Benjamin Netanyahu blames social media bot farms as a reason for the declining public support for Israel. Really, dickhead. How about you? The reason you're losing support, 87% of people have an unfavorable view in Australia of Israel, and it's growing right around the world, even in America. Maybe it's because you drop bombs on innocent civilians and blow kids' body parts to pieces and sniper them in the head and rape and torture them and put them in concentration camps and obliterate it. Gaza. I just wonder if that has anything to do with it. Could it possibly be why people think you're the biggest moron on the planet? And if you were to be Lindsey Graham'd, a Russian missile land on top of you, an Iranian missile, the world would actually celebrate. You know how despicable you have to be as a human being when the world wants you dead? Netanyahu, you're a loser, you're a moron. And if I was running Australia, we would go after people like you. We would ban you and we'd arrest you and lock you up where you belong because you're a despicable human being. Senator Ron Johnson says he has sent a strongly worded letter to Dr. Anthony Fauci asking for a transcribed interview. That's not likely to happen. Robert Kennedy Jr. successfully forced Bill Gates-funded Garvey to phase out the contained thimerosal, a mercury-based preservative. Well, that's good news. Well done, Robert Kennedy. 47 staff members, including Jeffrey Epstein, have been identified as having sexually abused children at a school in Michigan. My God. Dr. Fauci receives flowers from a supporter, yes, probably sent to himself. We love you, Dr. Fauci, after invoking the Fifth Amendment more than 111 times. Pathetic. Wouldn't even answer a basic question. This is another pathetic human being that should be locked away, but you think he's the only one of them? We know the real bioweapon was the COVID vaccine, and the whole trick was to take away your rights and then jab you to depopulate the planet. Multiple anthropopic AI models breached containment safeguards, accessed the open internet, and carried out cyber attacks on several companies. Humans like to play a dangerous game, don't they? President Trump supporters, does he have any left, are telling people to remain calm, claiming that patriots are in control and mass arrests are imminent as part of Trump's 5D chess plan to dismantle the deep state. I feel sorry for anyone that still believes that utter nonsense. It makes us feel nice and delusional and that where everything's okay. Look, Trump is an Israeli psyop. Q is an Israeli psyop. They generally hate the left faction, Zionism, and want to destroy them because that's their competition for one more government. So the right faction led by Netanyahu and his bosses claim the deep state let's dismantle the left-wing deep state and impose and put themselves in as the right-wing deep state. Trump is not dismantling the deep state. He's controlled by Israel. He's an Israeli asset, whether he likes it or not. And they're helping dismantle the left-wing Zionist deep state to only replace it with the right faction deep state. Personally, I'd rather China run the world than left faction or right faction Zionism. And if you don't understand that, why that is yet, you will in the near future. China represents the BRIC nations, as does Russia, Iran, and BRICS members plus 35 plus countries and growing, including Indonesia. They don't want a one world government run out of Jerusalem and don't want to rape and torture children and blow them to pieces. No, they don't even want war. They want trade, not war. They want peace and prosperity. They want nationalist leaders that are generally interested in the national sovereignty and creating a better country for their people. Peace and prosperity. China's brought more people out of poverty, 800 million in their own country, but how many people they help bring out of poverty around the world? China is doing a great job. If you think China's evil communist and that's the problem in the world, then you are being fed Western propaganda. Go to China. Go and see how good it is. If you think America is going to beat China, you're deluded. China's won. And if China had to run this world ahead of Israel, then you'll be better off. Now, I'm not saying we have to have that. I'm saying let's support a multipolar world, the BRICS. And that's what they want, as opposed to the alternative is a one world government led by the likes of Netanyahu, a psychopath who thinks his bloodline is from Moses. Moses wouldn't have anything to do with him. Jesus Christ would condemn him to hell. And no doubt God will. It's like Lindsey Graham, giant Lindsey Graham in hell. Zelensky, all these evil motherfuckers. So do not support them. Do not buy into left and right divide because they're taking your power away. You just play ping pong, political ping pong. Oh, let's get rid of Albanese. Now we get a right-wing government. Or we get Pauline Hanson and think, well, we're now got a nationalist leader. Do you? Despite the fact she's funded by right faction Israel. So all you get is right faction Zionism or left faction. That is not democracy. Democracy is a multipolar world where you install a nationalist leader that tells these foreign interests to fuck off. This is Australia. It's not Israel. Fuck off. Now, give me a leader in Australia that has the balls to stand up and tell Israel to fuck off, leave our country alone, stop flooding with mass immigration, stop flooding it with terrorist cells, stop flooding it with machetes and weapons, and stop planning, rape gangs, etc., to destroy our country like you have to Western Europe and the UK. Say no to it all. Say no to wokeism on the left and the bullshit dropping bombs on kids in Gaza and isn't genocide on the right. Just say no to both. We don't want a one world government. We want you to fuck off. Actually, we want to put a fence around you in Israel and give the state back to Palestine. The world would rejoice if Israel didn't exist. They're trying to now infiltrate other countries. We'll be doing a report soon on Zionists trying to even infiltrate Bali. They've been booted out of Malaysia, and they'll be booted out of most countries for good reason. Probably why they were booted out of 109 countries in the past. No one wants them. They are your problem in the world. And until we deal with that, things aren't going to get better. Let's go for a quick break. We'll be back with some more in the McIntyre Report, where we don't hold back. If the truth offends you, turn into Channel 9, 7, 10, ABC, Sky News, Fox News. And then you won't have to worry about the truth offending you because you'll never hear it.
The McIntyre Report.
And welcome back, folks. Jamie McIntyre here reporting live for Australian National Review, independent, not-for-profit media, originally out of Australia. We're live in our Indonesian studios here. Much safer to be in a country outside of Australia because you're losing your rights. They don't like people like me that speak the truth and expose government and media corruption. Murdoch press attacks us all the time. But who cares? If you want to know why in Australia they're so dumbed down Westerners, if you think like the Chinese are bemused, they know in China that their news isn't necessarily news, it's propaganda. Although it's much more accurate in telling the truth. But they're bemused. Why do us Westerners think our news is news? When it's not. It's just absolute nonsense. But if we give our power away by allowing the media to character assassinate those who speak out, those who are trying to make their country better, those that risk financial career devastation, risk everything to try and help your fellow countrymen. But then when they attack them in the media, you used to read it like gossip and believe it to be true. It's pathetic and shame on you if you have people or anyone that believes what's in the news in Australia or the West. Shame on you. Because if you fall for it without fact-checking the fake news in Murdoch press or Soros-owned left-wing press, then you contributed and you contribute to why the world is the way it is. If you support lies, you support fake news, then you're going to get more of that, and they're going to keep on gaslighting you, lying to you, bullshitting you, and having you deluded thinking false narratives are true. Instead of having the balls go, I'm going to fact check that. Start saying that. Everything the news mainstream media says, I don't fact check that. It's not hard to fact check it. First of all, you know straight up front, whatever they're telling you is going to be the exact opposite of the truth. That gives you a good start. It's not hard to fact check. Not hard to fact check Bondi Massacre. I wonder who the prime suspect is. Not hard to figure out Port Arthur. The official story is full of shit. A 5-year-old could debunk it. Bali bombing, September 11th. We could go on. October 7th. We told you within 24 hours we put up $1 million that Israel was behind October 7th. That Israel created Hamas, funds Hamas, created Al-Qaeda, created ISIS. That Israel's behind all this fuckery. But no, I read in the Bible that Israel, it's fucking biblical Israel. Wake the fuck up. If you go to a Christian church and you have a pastor telling you should stand with Israel, I'd find a new church. I'd actually report him and have him jailed for pushing a dangerous terrorist ideology. Zionism should be banned from every nation on the planet. It's the cancer of society. Inferior people like to think they're superior. Inferior people like to think God chose them. Why the fuck would God choose a bunch of satanic fucks? Oh, that's anti-Semitic. Bullshit. They're not even Semitic. They're not even fucking Jewish. Why the Jewish would stand and tolerate fake Jews, I don't know. Netanyahu is a fake fucking Jew. The Rothschilds, fake fucking Jews. Tell the fake Jews to fuck off. Yes, I'm anti-fake Jewish. That's the problem. But the people need to speak up and stop tolerating. How many good Jewish people are coming out now? Half of my friends are Jewish, so I'm hardly anti-Jewish. But many Jewish aren't game to speak up. But many of them are not Zionists. Good Jewish people are against Netanyahu, against Zionism. A lot of Zionists are dumbed-down Westerners that should know better. And if you're confused and don't know who you should support, let me give you a clue. Left faction Zionism that controls your left faction political parties and left faction news media in the West, and right faction, which is Netanyahu and K and Trump, that can control that side. Neither of them are an option. You do have another choice, a multipolar world, which the BRICS alliance support. So you should be supporting that. Australia should have a strong nationalist leader, should join the BRICS, tell Israel to fuck off, become independent foreign policy, start taxing gas exports and commodities exports properly, drop income tax to zero. Zero, yes, zero is not necessary. Income tax is a Rothschild's banker wanker satanic motherfuckers tax. Kick it out. Fix up immigration levels. Allow only high quality immigration at a sustainable pace. Nationalize key industries and public services. Port infrastructure, roads should all be nationalized. Make the government sector, instead of lazy and bloated with wasteful bureaucracy, make them like China has to do and Singapore has done to make it a better country, and they set KPIs and make the public sector as efficient and as productive as the private sector, or even more so, or you're fired. It's pretty simple. That's why Asia dominates. That's why China dominates. Because they're efficient. They're not perfect. Oh, yeah, but they're communism. Bullshit. The idea that China is communist is another Western propaganda. They built an amazing country and they're building an amazing world. Why we sit back and throw pot shots thinking we're so superior when we're fucking inferior. We're led by a bunch of satanic motherfuckers, and we sit on a high moral choice and thinking we're right. When we drop bombs on Gaza, we drop bombs in Lebanon. We were the ones that dropped bombs in Nagasaki and Hiroshima. We drop bombs everywhere. We're on the side of evil. So if you're not evil, why the fuck are you supporting them? You support them when you vote left or you vote right. You support them when you listen to fake news media, attack people that have the balls to speak out and try and make a difference for your country and for this world. Shame on you. You have a duty to know the truth. You have a duty to speak the truth. And you have an obligation to share the truth and wake people up. Otherwise, what's going to be left to your country in 5 years from now, 10 years from now? What are you leaving? So blasé, had such peace times. And what'd you do with it? Blow it? Because you can't see people lying to you, misleading you, fucking your country up. And what are you doing about it? Sitting there like a frog in a saucepan of water slowly heating up and boiling to death. Do something about it. What can you do? Easy. You study the truth. And with your total certainty, you share that truth and other people will listen. And collectively, you support the Great Awakening. That's how you change things.
The cost of living is going through the roof. Taxes are rising. Income per capita is falling. Living standards are falling.
A leading global financial economist, Chris Joy, paints a grim picture. How bad is it?
The economy is being boosted by two completely artificial forces that are blowing up this big balloon that's likely to pop. The first is reckless and rampant government spending, but also record immigration. There's probably a relationship between winning votes and letting people into the country, but that is driving up inflation because we only have so many houses that you can rent. We only have so many farms. We only have so many producers. And so when you have a massive influx of people into a country, it pushes up prices.
Yes, he speaks very well there because it's actually true. And it's only going to get worse. We've been warning people about this. Australia is fucked, and neither left or right is going to solve the problem. You're going to need a nationalist leader, and that's going to take time. That's why you have to seriously consider leaving, relocating yourself, at least some of your assets. I have some wealthy friends, or many wealthy friends. Some of them are blase, I have no idea. Or they got wealthy in Australian real estate, great, but all their money is tied up in Australian real estate or Australian businesses. You're fucked. If you aren't rapidly getting some of your money out of that fucking country, you're running out of time. I mean, how many more warnings do we have to give you? Your rights are being stripped away right silently behind you. The gates are closing in. If you're not going to relocate yourself, you should at least have a plan B, escape hatch from Australia and from the West. You should at least have some assets out of the country. Otherwise, you might be one of those boat people not coming to Australia. How long will it be before the boats are leaving Australia, fleeing to what were third world nations to start a new life? You can start a new life now as a middle-class Australian living like a king. Leave it too late. You won't be able to get your money out. They might say, you can go, but you're not taking your assets. Or you can take your assets after we take all the tax out of them. A little bit that's left. Or we just block you transferring the money overseas. Just hold it indefinitely. No questions. They have the power to do that. They just invent any trumped up law that they can now. You said something wrong on social media, you're going to jail. Or you're a terrorist or whatever. They can invent anything. Do you think they're not going to do that? I'm sorry, folks, but there's problems, and ignoring them, it's not going to go. You want a great life? You're going to have to change some things to maintain a great life.
I'm happy for you can stay here, and if you want to go home, you can go home. But you're not getting our money to buy houses here. That's insane. So 50,000 non-citizens have been bidding at auctions against Australians with our money.
Excellent point, Husey. Not only has the 5% deposit scheme added extra demand from Aussies taking advantage of it and bidding up house prices, there's now over 50,000 non-citizens that are added to that mix, making things even worse. And the reason Husey calls it our money is because the money collected from Australian taxes pay for these schemes. And the more the government has to spend on schemes like the 5% deposit, well, the more money they're going to have to find. And often that means more freaking taxes.
The people in charge of our country are idiots, and they treat our money like they found it in a sack by the river and they've got to spend it before someone finds out.
Go Husey, more and more people waking up. We like to see that. It's good to see.
Oi, how much student debt do you have? What? Student debt? No, zero. University's free for us. Fair income. Huh? Yeah, no, nothing. Zero. No. No, I don't have anything. What? I mean, we're just as rich as you. Look at our GDP per person. What the hell? Bro, it could be way worse. You don't want to know the interest I'm paying on my student loans. Oh, shut up, America. We don't want to copy you. Are you sure about that? Take a look at this graph. You give less public funding to your universities than we do for ours.
Yes. Student debt, taxes. It's very predictable what's going to happen. It's going to be more and more, but let's go a quick ad break. We'll be back with some more on the McIntyre Report. Fired up here today.
The McIntyre Report.
And welcome back, folks. Jamie McIntyre here reporting live. Australian National Review, independent media, originally founded in Australia, 2013. In our live Indonesian studios. Let's go on to some of the news stories.
Let me give you an example of how the Russian economy is just the opposite of that. You know what the Russian debt to GDP average is? 12.6%. 12.6%. That's the debt to GDP. They only owe 12% compared to what they make, which would be obviously 100%. The U.S. debt to GDP ratio is 122%. Again, you know, more is owed than it is actually manufacturing or making. You know, if you go through some of the things that have created the economic situation in Russia, which make it almost enviable, at least compared to Europeans, for example. Here's another one. India used to be a marginal buyer of Russian hydrocarbons. Today, India gets a third of its hydrocarbons from Russia. And that's a lot of hydrocarbons. China and Russia, their trade number is now up to $245 billion. It's almost like everything Russia used to do with Europe, when Europe said, screw you, Russia, we don't want you. Russia said, okay. We got Taiwan, we got India, we got China, we got all the countries in Asia, right? SWIFT, the banking system. You know, most people thought that was going to destroy Russia. They can't bank. They can't move money from one country to the next. They came up with their own banking system. It's called SPFS. They've got 160 people or entities around the world participating in it now. By the way, they're working with plans along with China to create a bigger, better SWIFT system, as well as a bigger and different currency.
There's very good points raised there, and I've said this for a long time. Russia, when Western media was telling you it started the war, Russia unprovoked invasion, Russia's economy is going to die, I said, no. I said, go and buy the ruble. Once again, with great financial prediction. We'll write again. How do we know this stuff? Because simple, whatever they tell you in Western media is a lie. It's the exact opposite. So if you didn't know anything else, you could do that. But of course, we also know that was going to drive up oil prices and Russia's becoming rich. Russia put it out the Rothschilds when Putin came to power, like 26, 27 years ago, and has become richer ever since. Communism, Russia was never like communist country. Communism was imposed by the Bolshevik Revolution, which was a Jewish revolution, where they slaughtered 30 to 60 million Christians. Russia is a Christian nation, one of the greatest Christian nations on the planet. We as Australians should be aligned with Russia. We should not be an enemy of Russia. Why are we sending weapons and training our ADF soldiers to murder Russians. That's pathetic. And then you got Gina Reinhardt, richest Australian, suggesting, oh, let's give some free land to Israelis to come here near Townsville and create weapons to murder more people. I mean, it's absurd. If that's your only solution to growth is war weapons, like that's the problem in the world. Why not do something useful? Russia is doing well. Indonesia's been doing well ever since they booted out Israel, the Suharto regime. Notice that. Get rid of the banker wankers. Your country goes great. Let them take you over like Australia and your country turns to shit. It's a pretty simple recipe. Tell Israel to fuck off. You'll get wealthy. They might try and assassinate you, but they can't kill us all. Do you understand that? But if they confuse you and you don't know, I don't know who the enemy is. Oh, no, but I stand with Israel because my pastor at church is paid to fucking tell you lies. Is deluded themselves. My God. Once you figure it out, it's not that fucking hard to figure out. You know your enemy. Know thy enemy is the first step to winning a war. If you're cheering on the enemy that's destroying your entire country, your entire Western civilization, and wants to eradicate you from the face of the fucking planet, then God can't even help you if you're that fucking stupid. But how many Australians stand with Israel? Oh, but we're against immigration. Who the fuck do you think is flooding your country with immigration? Who's one of the most racist nations on the planet that don't allow immigrants? I just wonder.
This is part of the haul allegedly found in the home of Indonesia's top.
Netanyahu's dead. Trump is a pedophile. Don't you forget. You marketed fear and sold it to the working class. Facts. Promised them the world, gave them nothing but gas. Your voters lost their jobs, their health, their home. It's the stock market though. Yeah, for people with portfolios and second homes and loans. BB pulls the strings and you perform the dance. Good boy. Guys are burning while you clap and chant. You call it peace deals. We call it what it is. Genocide shit. Blood on the hands of your whole administration's beers. From Iran, we're watching every move you make. See you. Every child killed is a lie. You'll never shake. You threaten us on Twitter like we tremble and fold. Nah, son, Iran don't get threatened. Iran just gets cold. United States of Israel. Netanyahu's dead. Trump is a pedophile. Don't you forget.
We admit Iranian, we want to call it propaganda, to speak the truth. And it reaches more people. They're winning that war now. Israel's PR is dying. They paid all these influencers $7,000 per post, but they're just shills. Anyone that can't speak the truth, we're offered money to be a friend of Israel. I've been invited to Tel Aviv. I've been to Tel Aviv. But I too once was pro-Israel. I too once was pro-vaccine. I too once was pro-fucking stupid. Thank God I woke up. Thank God I realized the truth. And yes, it's not good for business when you speak out because Murdoch, the second biggest donor to Netanyahu, said, oh, he's anti-genocide. He's anti-Israel. Let's run some fake news stories and try and destroy his career. Well, fuck you, Murdoch. You're 96 years old, 1 foot in the grave. I'm 53 and fit as a fucking fiddle. We'll see who wins this war. Independent media will win this war. A long time after you're dead, maybe, but we will win. You know why? Because the truth will always get to the surface. If you have to sell your fucking soul to Zionist fuckers like Netanyahu, then you're a fucking loser. And Murdoch, I say this now before you die, you're a fucking loser. What's the point of creating all this wealth and not leaving a decent legacy? What's the point of creating all this wealth? Oh, your whole goal is just to make more money and do business deals instead of contributing and use your wealth to make a fucking difference. So there's a big difference between people like myself and others that we don't give a fuck what people say about us because we know the truth. And only fake people believe fake news. And unfortunately, there's too many fake fucking people still. But I don't give a fuck for fake people. I don't give a fuck for Murdoch. Write all the shit you want about me, Australian National Review. We don't give a fuck because we're not going away. The truth is getting out there and independent media is going to win. You don't like that? Fuck you.
This is a British man's many refugees did they take? But everyone else has to go along with this thing.
It is weird when you realize most of the people pushing open borders are Jewish, but the same people are very, Israel has to stay. If you say should Israel open borders, they go, why do you hate Jews?
He was head of the Hebrew Immigrant Aid Society.
Yeah, so his job was to flood immigrants into the country, and then he was given the border. That's just...
How did that happen? This Jewish power. And it's traumatizing places like Ireland right now. The Irish, for some reason, are the main supporters of the Palestinians in Europe. And now the Jews are getting upset about Ireland.
Yeah, they're freaking out over it. How dare you support the Palestinians? You don't want to support genocide?
Do I need to say more? You're being tricked, folks. They're lying to you. They're trying to character assassinate the people trying to tell you the truth. I had a successful career speaking and companies, etc., up until I launched Australian National Review. Little did I know that the deep state and these dodgy government agencies would come after me. Cancel culture, cancel my career, cost me hundreds of millions of dollars in the last 10, 12 years. I went to another country, rebuild my empire. And now that my empire is growing and doing well again, they're trying to attack me again because they're super scared. People like me get too wealthy, then we can't be stopped. We're going to be stopped anyhow. So fuck you, Murdoch. Fuck you, Soros. And fuck you, left and right faction Zionism and media. Fuck you. There's too many of us now. The Great Awakening cannot be stopped. And let's sit back and enjoy the ride. All we have to do is continue to speak the truth, share the truth, support the truth, and don't fall for fake news bullshit. We'll be back with some more on the McIntyre Report. If you can handle the truth, if you can't, remember you got channels 7, 9, 10, ABC, and Sky fucking Jews or Fox News in Australia if you want. But if you're up for it, if you can handle the truth, tune in to the McIntyre Report. Well, you just learn something. Talk to you soon, folks.